right. So we've got Michael and correct me if I say it incorrectly, but Binyaminov.
Hey man, that was spot on.
Perfect. Michael Binyaminov of Sentinel Financial here. He's going to be working today and teaching us how to market difficult cases in life insurance. So as you guys know, if you've been to any of the prior workshops that we've done here, they typically go about 10 to 15 minutes. And then we leave about 10 to 15 minutes open for any Q&A that you guys might have for Michael. So without further ado, I'm going to let him take it from here, and we're going to go have some fun with this one. He's about to drop some gold nuggets for us.
No pressure, right? So first things first, man, I want to say thank you. It's awesome to be able to have a platform and talk to other agents of other, verticals and be able to expand on the industry. Just like 30 seconds of background on me. I got my license. You're going to laugh at this one. I got my license on my 22nd birthday. I came home from a trip. I drove to Tucson, Arizona, which is 2 hours away from me. There's no testing times open. Studied one night and I got my license. And it's the craziest story I can tell people. So I'm going into my 4th year of insurance now. And I'll tell you, I really wasn't good at insurance until about like a year and a half ago. So if any like newer agents are watching this and you're struggling, do not feel bad. Literally everybody starts in the exact same place. So one of the first topics I want to take care of is there's a lot of folks who are not specifically in life insurance, but they offer life insurance, whether it's captively with a P&C agency or they work with like a health agency, and they do Medicare or they do U65 and they don't know a lot about life insurance. I can tell you right now, it's totally fun. The way that the world is moving towards is a lot more of like the insurtech side, and like AI will take over. Until that gets perfected within like 70 years, agents like us are still going to be very important. So what I want to first clear up, a lot of the times I'm in these insurance groups or just see it around in the industry, everyone specifically says, hey, my guy has diabetes. I don't think you can get life insurance. Shenanigans. I was going to say that right now. They can get it. It's not extremely difficult. There might be an extra step or two. There might be, so looking at 1,000 carriers, you're looking at 20, but it's more than doable. And so what I think the issue is a lot of people confuse like the pre-qualifications of life insurance versus health insurance, where if you have certain medical conditions, health insurers really, really don't want to touch that business, right? Life insurance, they truthfully don't care. I mean, as long as you have, I jokingly say, as long as you have a pulse in a bank account, you can get a life insurance policy. How good it is matters on a lot of other things, but yeah, those two things, you get a life insurance policy. So let's start from the very beginning. I had a few of my agents and I had a few people on Facebook actually send me some cases, and they wanted to know how I would go about not only closing the business, but carrier, I can't say the carrier names, but what my decision-making process looks like. And then, how I can go about making sure I get the client in the best situation. So the one that I have is going to be a 65-year-old male, takes some very harsh heart medications for atrial fibrillation, also called AFib. If you stay up late enough watching daytime TV, or I shouldn't say daytime TV, stay up late enough watching TV, you'll see the pharmaceutical commercials. You all know what AFib is eventually. So 65-year-old male has AFib, takes a bunch of heart medications, looks like a cocktail of stuff, honestly. And he takes insulin for his diabetes. A lot of you might be screaming, oh my God, no, we can't help him. We have to refer this to somebody. Negative. You really don't have to. You got to take this problem one step at a time. The first thing you tell your client, Bob, listen, my name is Michael. I'm managing partners financial. My job here is to do two things. Number one, it's to make sure you never have to look for life insurance again, because I'm going to handle this once. And then everyone has their own spiel. My spiel is always, I work with quite literally any life insurance company worth working with. And if I do not have an active contract for representation with them, I will get it specifically for you if needed. You only have to do this with me one time, shop everybody at once, we'll make life easy, 30 telemarketers won't call you. Cool? They're always so relieved. So relieved. They're like, 30 people don't call me? I'm like, no, it's just me. I'm a fun run guy. I'll make you laugh. Just me, right? Build some sort of personality, especially with clients who have more health issues. You need to build more personality because they might have been rejected previously. It's like trying to date somebody who had like a previous bad marriage. They bring baggage with them. And the first step is overcoming that. Listen, we'll get through this together. We're going to take this one step at a time, and I'm going to make sure I can help you. And that builds a lot more trust and credibility. So in this specific case, what I'll say is, hey, listen, I need to look at your medications, and I need you to tell me what every single one is for specifically, or you can just say, this is for my heart, or this is for my kidneys, or this is for my whatever. I'm not going to drop a product, but there is a certain underwriting tool in the life insurance space that helps me a lot. I just type the patient tells for. I'm not going to plug them, but they're out there, and these tools are available for quite literally anybody. It's not agency dependent. And so what I usually do is I'll write down the medications, and I'll go through my little tool. I'll type everything in. It'll tell me what it's for, and then it'll start showing me combinations of things. The scariest thing you can see in the world of insurance is if somebody, let's say, is taking, in for their diabetes, and they're taking a medication called like gabapentin or pregabalin or Lyrica. You certainly know in your mind they don't have diabetes. They have a complication of diabetes called diabetic neuropathy. You just went from having 1,000 carriers in your carrier pool to about like 8 or 9 that would give this person a serious look, and it narrows things down. So in this case, hey, Bob, I'm glad that you got me all your heart medications. I'm glad to know that you take 50 units of insulin a day. It's really going to help me. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you right now, Bob. You're not 25 anymore like me. It's unfortunate, but we all age, and we all get health conditions. Some of us start really early like me. I swear my skin's falling off. So at least you have the good skin going for you. Make them laugh a little bit, especially if they've been rejected before. It makes things a lot easier to go through. Bob, my job, I'm going to find you a carrier. I'm going to find you a carrier that's going to say yes. That is step one. The reason why you phrase it this way is you'll start kicking out a lot of these objections of, oh, I need to think about it. Dude, the carrier didn't say yes. You have nothing to think about. You have no offer in hand. They don't even know who you are, right? We need to get the carrier to say yes, so that you can make some form of decision. So always like preface with that. We need to make some sort of decision to find out where we can go forward from. So Bob, I'm glad that I got these medications. I'll write them all down. What I'll usually do, and this is my own thought process. Step one, what's the best kind of coverage this client can get? In the world of life insurance, in the world of final expense, which is what I'm specifically going to be talking about for the next 30 seconds, you have 3 types. You have day one coverage, meaning the coverage is effective immediate. They die from anything, natural causes, accidental, it pays. Sometimes it's within 2-year contestability. They have to do a brief investigation to make sure they weren't lying, but it pays. The next type is called graded coverage. What that means is if you get a $10,000 life insurance policy, in the first year, if you pass away, the death benefit's only going to be roughly $3,000, 30% of what the face is. That varies from carriers, but industry-wide, that's about what it is. The second year would be 70% of death benefits to $7,000. Third year, they have full coverage. However, if they die in the first 2 years, they have from an accident, they do get full coverage paid out. The next kind is going to be the most detrimental, but it's the lowest tiers. It's called modified or return of premium, or some carriers call that graded, even when it's not. So that coverage, it varies carrier by carrier, but the concept is if the person's paying $1,000 a year for their coverage and they die within the first 2 years, instead of getting paid 30% or the full amount, the family will get the $1,000 the client paid plus 10% interest on that. So they'll get paid $1,100 instead of $1,000. So technically, the family still makes some sort of money. From the beneficiary still receives some sort of death benefit more than what the client paid into it, but it's not a full death benefit or a graded one. Now, in this circumstance, when I go through my little chart, the first thing I look at is coverage type. Can they get day one anywhere? I don't care commission. I don't care, reputation as much. I don't care if it's good for my agency. I care about the client because at the end of the day, there's no commission you will ever make in insurance that's worth a client yelling at you on the phone at all hours of the night, posting badly about you on social media, or killing any sort of referral chain that you have going. There's none. I don't care if it's millions of dollars, because you'll forfeit millions more in the future. So I always look at day one coverage. So once I know what my day one coverage options are, I'll start writing them out for myself. The next thing I'll do is I'll look at how easy is this carrier to work with. Many of you who are watching this are on the health side and the P&C side, and I know when I say easy to work with, probably get like that cold shudder, like, oh, I would never put my mother with that. If you would not put your mother with this carrier, there's a really good chance you should put this client with that carrier. And that's what I go through in every single home. Somebody will say, well, that carrier's 30 cents cheaper. I'm like, listen, man, if you want to be on the phone for 2 hours trying to change your billing address, be my guest. Like, I won't do that to you. So I will look at, coverage type. I'll look at how easy the carrier is to work with. And I'll look at how the carrier treats, like, me personally as an agent. Do they make my life really hard when I'm in the application? Do they make my life hard when I'm trying to communicate with the carrier? Whatever goes through that nature, I'll write it out for them. And then I look at price very last. And the reason why I tend to look at price last is for the very simple reason that insurance is an intangible object. There will always be something cheaper, I swear, always. Doesn't matter who you are, where you live, there will always be something cheaper. So if you have people who only buy on price, 9 times out of 10, you'll probably lose them after the second year because they'll find something else. These people are savvy and they want to shop around. So in this case, Bob, I went ahead and I found carrier A. Carrier A is going to charge $65 a month for your $10,000 life insurance policy. Here are the other added features that come with this specific policy. B, this is another carrier. They're like a 40 cents difference. The only reason I'd ever want you to place you here over carrier A, they're in the West Coast. They're, I'll joke and they're in Arizona. They're in downtown Phoenix. They're on the same time zone. This one's on the East Coast. So if you want to call somebody between 9 to 5 our time, you'd probably want carrier B. Or if you want to say the 40 cents, you just have carrier A, who's in a different time zone. You can make your own decision. I'll write this all down on. I get lead cards that have their information. I know everyone doesn't, but I'll literally write it on the back of their little lead card, and I'll write out all the options, and I'm just circle one. I'll write carrier, price, coverage amount, circle one. That's the one we're going to go with. You want to have as much control of these difficult life situation cases, because they love to put things off. I'm going to think about it for 6 more years and then never get anything. You need to have control, and then every once in a while you push the stick to them to make one decision and one decision only. Then you need to take the stick back and then write the policy. So in this AFib case, it was AFib plus insulin. I actually got them $15,000 in day one coverage. And he actually disclosed to me after that he tried to apply with another company 3 months prior, and it was an immediate decline. On the agent's iPad in front of him, it was decline. And I'm like, yes, because if the agent would sit and read the application, the 8th question down is do you have heart conditions such as, and AFib is the first one. And I'm like, a lot goes into these things, and that's why having certain tools in your tool belt that make these things easier to narrow down are huge. So the next case I had was somebody posted this on Facebook when we actually made the announcement we were going to have this webinar, Victor. It was female 68 with COPD, right? Now, in the other verticals of the life and health industry where you're doing U65 or Medicare, COPD is kind of a kick in the butt sometimes because it's very difficult to place because there's a lot of medications that go with it, a lot of costs associated. Life insurance is semi-similar to that. But truth be told, most carriers don't really preclude COPD. Offhand, I can think about 15 that will take COPD day one with no waiting period. And there's probably 50 other ones that will take it either graded or ROP or modified, whatever you want to call it. So in this case, I'm going to tell you a talk track where, let's say you're a captive agent or you just simply don't have a carrier. This is the talk track I use when I have to give somebody either a graded or a modified plan. And this is huge. So sitting down with, Betty, 68-year-old female, has COPD, but nothing else. And I say, Betty, based on your health and your age, I'm unfortunately not going to be able to get you immediate coverage. Don't beat around the bush. Just be very straightforward. I won't get you day one coverage. I wish I would have been here 10, 15 years earlier to help you get some form of coverage in place that would have been immediate. But everyone always wants to buy life insurance when it's a little too late or after. It's an afterthought sometimes. So what we're going to do today, Miss Betty, we're not going to put this off any longer because, God forbid your health gets any worse. Or what happens if, the sky falls tomorrow? You want to make sure that these things are taken care of as soon as they can, because the only thing it can truly do at this point, since you've already been diagnosed, is get worse. You got to bring them into the real world. Because a lot of people, I've seen this 100 times. They're like, oh, I'm healthy, and we do the app, and I'm like, yeah, I have all. Like they just start like naming all the health conditions. I'm like, Jesus, like you think you're healthy? I'm like, what's an unhealthy person to you? Like somebody who's already been married? Like, what's going on, man? So with a COPD case, if you can't get them day one simply because you don't have the carrier, first thing I'll tell you is go find one, right? But if you can't, here's the talk track I use. Betty, listen, we have two options right now. Based on your current health conditions and your medications, I either have to put you in what's called a graded plan or a modified plan. What you personally want is the graded plan because it's a little bit better for you. Then I'll explain to them, if you were to pass away right now, you get 30% of the death benefit paid out immediately. If you die in year 2, it's 70% immediately. Third year, you have full coverage, not a care in the world. And then I always kind of put it back on them. If I was here 2 years ago, Betty, we'd already be done with this. And because you want to make sure that they can take full ownership of what they personally put off, so that when they try to say, I need to think about it, no, Betty, you've had years to think about it. We need to take care of this now so we can start your 2-year waiting period. The longer we wait, the longer the 2-year waiting period is going to be down the road. And as I said, your health is not going to get better. It's probably just going to get worse. Be honest with them. These are adults. You don't have to treat them like 5-year-olds. So what we're going to do, Betty, is we're either going to look at a graded plan or a modified plan. So in the graded plan, you pay your $1,000 a year for your $10,000 in coverage. First year you have $3,000. Then they'll say, but I don't want that, Betty. Let's look at some math, honey. All right, and I'll write this down in front of them. If you're paying $1,000 a year and you die within the first year, and your family, your beneficiary, gets a check in hand for $3,000, was this a good deal? And just go silent. Let them let the hamster spin around in the wheel for a second, and they'll probably say yes. And if they say no, you probably have to revisit your pitch and why you're there to give them coverage in the first place at all. Betty, if you die in the second year, your family's going to receive $7,000, and you've only paid in 2 or less. Is that still a good deal? Yes, great. Now, Betty, in the third year, you have full coverage. There's no worries in the world anymore. It's a good feeling, right? And give them the tie down question and look at like eye contact, huge. So you want to make insurance. I forgot who told me this, but they said an insurance purchase is very emotional, but it's for a very logical reason. And everyone's different. I go by a lot of logic. If actually Donald's in here, he's seen me at appointments. I don't like your family's gonna die and they're gonna be on the street. I don't do that. Very logical, because a lot of these people, they're like, I had a family member pass away, and now you're sitting there going, wow, that's crazy, for 30 minutes while they tell you all about their life story. I'm not saying don't be empathetic, but don't lead them down this talk track. You want to be very, very logical with these people. Betty, this is always going to be a great decision. You just want to start it sooner, which is now, rather than later, because we have to start your 2-year waiting period. Now, the talk track for the modified side is a little bit different. With modified, you really, like, I'm going to tell you right now, you won't close very many modified cases, simply because there's a value associated with life insurance, right? Everyone sees you can get $250,000 for $20 a month. Shenanigans. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm in my 20s. I'm very healthy. You don't get $250,000 for $20 unless you're, I think the like little small, it's like 19-year-old female and like beyond excellent health. And I'm like, damn, I'm already outclassed. I'm not a 19-year-old female, right? So you need to make sure that you put a very direct value on it. If it's a modified plan, Betty, listen, you're gonna pay $1,000 and you die within the first year, your family, the beneficiary, is gonna get $1,100 paid out to them. And they'll say, but that's not worth it to me. Betty, if you can show me an investment, or you can show me some sort of vehicle that I can put $1,000 in and get $1,100 back, guaranteed, even if the world ends, I will put all my money in it right now. Put it right back on them. I will put all of my money in it right now, because there's zero institutions like that. You can look at the banks. They'll give you like I have like super elite status with Chase. They'll give you 0.02% in a savings account. That I give them $1,000, they'll give you 2, right? Shenanigans. They'll give me 20 cents. I can then say, a CD, that's 2%. This is 10, it's 5 times more. And you want to write these things out so they can look at this logically and they can understand exactly where the math is. Betty, you die in the second year. Your family is going to receive $2,400 instead of just $2,000. And you want to go silent, want to look them dead in the face when you say these things. And then tell them third year, you have full coverage. And if, you know, the most likely case of death between the ages of like 50 to actually like 75 currently is an accident. Tell them very straightforward. You die in any form of accident. You slip and fall in the shower, you break a hip walking, whatever happens to you, you die from any sort of accident, the full benefit's paid out regardless. It doesn't matter what your health is. And just reassure them of that. Like if you're going to die, it's more likely you're going to be from some sort of accident than any sort of natural causes. It doesn't matter how unhealthy they are. You know, I had a lady that was on oxygen. I walked into her trailer to sell her policy. It's like my third week in the business. I walk into her trailer to sell her policy. Homegirl has an oxygen tank sign, an oxygen tank, the little things up her nose, and she's smoking a cigarette. And I was like, damn, baby, you're a literal bomb. Like you're a danger, like you need life insurance because you're a danger to you and everyone within like 5 trailers of you, right? And she's still alive. This was almost 4 years ago. So I think to myself all the time, like if these people do pass away in the first 2 years, more likely than not, it'll probably be from some sort of accident. I did see some comments in here about, you know, what if they have these conditions and what do you do? Victor, I want to ask your opinion. Are you cool with me like dropping carrier names? So say like, hey, go look at this one, because I don't want to step on toes.
I'd say let's not drop carrier names because
that's what I think.
We don't have access, or maybe it's not available to them or whatever. Just for the sake of that, we'll leave carriers out of it. But yeah, I mean, if anyone does have questions, I know that there's some questions here in the chat. So if you want to do that and you can do it without dropping carrier names, then yeah, we could do that. And then if anyone has questions, you can unmute your mics and ask away. That was a lot of great information that he just dropped. So yeah, if you have questions, go for it.
So first one I'm going to answer real quick is for Marina. Yeah, I speak fluent Russian. It was actually my first language. Yeah, Donald was there with me when Donald was there with me. Vic, we went to this appointment in Dallas, dude, and we walk in and like I look at this lady's like TV and I look at like a poster behind her and I'm like, she speaks Russian. Not a word of English was said in that house for about 25 minutes. It was pretty, dude, Donald's sitting there just watching me the whole time, trying to close this lady in Russian. And I do, it doesn't matter how good of a closer you are, there are some people you'll never be able to get a policy on. So it's a really, really funny experience. And he like happened to be with me for that one.
And actually Marina she just unmuted. So I don't know if she has a question. Marina?
No, I just want to say it's Russian. Mine too was the first language I learned. The second was Estonian.
Awesome. I love that. Let's see, another question in here. What about bipolarism or schizophrenia? If you find me on Facebook or find me through any other channel, I will tell you exactly who to write and why. There are day one options for bipolarism. There are day one options for schizophrenia. There's day one options for neuropathy, and there's day one options for COPD. The big thing, and again, I don't want this to be some sort of conflict of interest. I'm not going to carry your names, but there's about 8 or 9 for neuropathy and about like 15 for COPD and probably like 7 or 8 for bipolarism that I can think of personally offhand. Are there more? Yeah. I like to think I'm good, but like, dude, I can't memorize all of them. That's terrifying.
So as far as covering them for those things, is it a max of $10,000 or $15,000, or is there some higher amounts?
No. So there are higher amounts. Typically, with like bipolarism, schizophrenia, you can actually go to 30,000. The reason why I always give 10,000 in examples, it's easy to do percentages for me in my head personally.
Right. Yeah.
It's just very easy to visualize. But you can go bipolarism and schizophrenia. There's a carrier that will go to like 35,000. Depending on age.
Is it the same for AFib? Like the lower amounts like that?
No, AFib. So AFib, depending on which one you go with specifically, you can go up to either 25 or 30. Don't quote me on that. So a lot of the numbers get jumbled around, but you can go a lot higher. You can go 25 or 30, and then there's zero issues, obviously, stacking carriers, because if someone says they want 50 and you can only do 35 with one, and you can do 15 with another, there's no issue.
Oh, okay. So you might be able to get somebody close to 100,000 if they're willing to pay for multiple carriers.
What you know what I say in every single home, Kathy, when someone says they want 100,000, I tell them, damn, if you want to pay for 100,000, I will move heaven and earth and I will find you 100,000 right now.
Okay.
So yes, you can stack. I mean, I've seen crazy stuff happen where people try to stack 5 or 6 carriers, and the underwriter in me gets extremely upset seeing that usually, because I'm like, why would you do that? But in certain circumstances where someone, let's say, has neuropathy, COPD, bipolarism, they have a precluding medical condition where you can't just lump it all into one carrier, then yeah, you do what the client needs. What I will say is, let's say you have somebody, and I see this so much now because there's certain organizations that push this. I see very often someone says, hey, I want $1 million in coverage. And I see somebody stack 4 simple issue term carriers on them, $250,000 each. And I'll look at like the pricing on that, and I'll tell myself, why would you do that? Like, you can get them one carrier for $1 million, and it's like 1/3 of the cost. And a lot of it happens to do with training, and a lot of it happens to do with like just compensation. But in this specific case, Kathy, if somebody wants 100,000 and they have COPD, yeah, it's doable. Probably need like, I'd want to say 2. No, you need about 3, almost 4 carriers in order to do it. And if they're, let's say 70, they're going to be paying like $600 a month for it, roughly.
Yeah.
I just did a case like this about 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah, so a lot of times people are looking for the cheapest, but if someone's trying to use something for a strategy,
Yep.
then you try to layer it. Like, sometimes
Exactly.
sometimes I would blend a term with a cash value so that they have something, and the cash value one isn't so expensive.
Exactly.
But with the Medicare clients, sometimes they're looking for more than just the amount that people put in a final expense. Like, instead of 10 or 15, like that $30,000 amount might be more what they're looking for. That's all. I was just throwing I was throwing some of the disorders that I get that are a problem in the chat, because I had somebody with bipolar, but then once I was able to explain to the underwriter that the person hasn't had any change to medications or any mania in a certain amount of years, then it was okay. They approved it, but it wasn't going to be for 500 or $1 million, with the living benefits on it. I think it was 250. I can't remember, but it was, we had to go back and forth and fight for it, but we were able to do it. But if somebody just had a hospitalization like this year or last year, then we would have to do something lower until we're able to get to the steady 5, 6, 7 year without an event.
Exactly. And I mean, I'll tell you this one general rule of thumb: if they have a hospitalization within a year, like all terms out the window, all the advanced, really sexy products are truthfully out the window. Like no universal lives, no participating whole life. Like, they all look at that very stringently because they do a lot of profit loss, and they won't touch it. Like, you're looking at basically guaranteed issue final expense at that point, or you're looking at like a modified return of premium plan, simply because that's all they can get. And like you said, you want to layer it in a way that, like, I had somebody call it what's called until insurance. You have this insurance until you can get better, right?
I like that.
That's also a strategy sometimes.
Yeah, I like to fix the problem children a little at a time till I find something that looks better,
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Feel free to find me on socials after this, and I'm more than happy to tell you exactly who I write and why. I mean, there's no secret sauce. I'll just give you the formula.
Okay, that's great.
No problem.
Cool. Anyone else have any questions for Michael? Speak now, forever hold your peace. All right. Well, looks like we don't have any more questions. So, man, thank you so much for coming in and teaching today. This won't be your last one here. We really, really appreciate you coming in and teaching here today. For everyone who is on the call or maybe wasn't able to get on it, but you're going to catch a replay. Michael's going to be teaching at our next workshop, which is a virtual workshop, $49.97 at insurancegrowthworkshops.com. It's going to be a sales mastery course, P&C, life, health, Medicare. Like, we're going over everything. Michael Binyaminov is one of the keynote speakers, myself, Tony Merwin, Brad Hannon. It's going to be jam packed. So if anyone wants to hop on that, insurancegrowthworkshops.com. And if you have any questions, put it in the comment when we upload the video. It will be available for replay. I see Josh just turned his camera back on. I don't know if he has any questions. No? Cool. All right. So Mike, thanks again. Appreciate you for coming on and dropping this. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.